Paris Hilton has had many titles throughout her very public life: heiress, reality star, pop culture icon, entrepreneur.
Now we can add a few more to that list: author, advocate, wife, and most recently, mom. She's opening up about all of it in her new book, Paris, the Memoir. Paris, good morning.
So good to see you. I think a lot of people were surprised to hear about the life that you lived when you were a teenager. I think if you were to ask someone on the street, they'd say, oh, she had a charmed life. She got everything handed to her. It was very surprising and quite shocking and disturbing to hear what your upbringing was like. It started once when someone came into your room in the middle of the night and I guess took you away with your parents' knowledge. Would you tell us about that story?
When I was 16, two men came into the room and took me in the middle of the night and brought me to these boarding schools in the troubled teen industry, and it was extremely traumatic. And my family had no idea. They just thought it was a normal boarding school, and they had no idea what was happening behind closed doors.
So during those years at those schools, talk about, and I know this is probably difficult. I'm sure it was hard to write about, but it's in the book. Talk about what those conditions were like. What happened to you there?
It was just hell on earth every day, just getting verbally, physically, psychologically, and sexually abused. And this is happening to hundreds of thousands of children who are still in these places right now.
So people think that these are a place to straighten your child up. It's kind of a little militaristic, we're going to get you on the straight and narrow. But in reality, there were moments where you were put in a room by yourself.
Solitary
it was like solitary. What was that like for you as a kid?
It was terrifying. They were always forcing medication on us and just trying to make us feel like zombies all the time. And if you refused, they would put you into solitary. And that was just extremely difficult, especially having ADHD and being locked in a room. It was just so traumatizing.
How did you, there are many nights I'm sure you were like, when is someone going to rescue me?
Yeah.
When is someone going to come get me? When's someone going to help me? How did you find any kind of security or peace within yourself during all that time?
I would just pray to God every night that I would wake up from this nightmare, and I also would imagine of who I wanted to be when I got out of there. So I was just always thinking and just planning what I was going to do whenever I got free.
Yeah, you write about how when you were first taken, you thought, am I being kidnapped? Because it was so out of the blue and handcuffed and so weird. And then you saw your parents. I know that your parents have read this. How have you forgiven them? Because as a child, you sort of looked to them to save you.
Yeah, to keep you safe.
Well, as an adult now, I know how deceptive the marketing is with these places and how they manipulate the parents just as much as they do with the children. And my parents thought they were sending me to this lovely boarding school. They have these brochures with smiling kids with rainbows in the background and riding horses. So they had no idea.
They thought they were doing the best thing for you.
Forgiveness is a funny thing. Even if you know that they didn't know, you're still a kid and they're still your parents. For me, I feel like forgiveness has to happen over and over. It's not just, and you're forgiven, and we move on, because I feel like that's sweeping it under the carpet. Do you feel like this is a process for you to forgive them?
Definitely. It's been 20 years to even be able to talk about it. It was just so traumatic, I didn't even want to think about it. But my family and I have never been closer, and ever since I've read in this book, it's just been very emotional for my family, but it's definitely brought us closer than ever.
I was going to say, after they read it, did they apologize? I mean, I know it's not entirely their fault, but was there sort of a moment of reckoning where they just said, God, Paris, we had no idea?
Yes, they were both crying and just so upset and angry at these places for lying to them. And my mom has been coming with me to D.C. and supporting me, and I just feel really blessed to have parents who love me so much.
When you say going to D.C., what you've been doing is a lot of people have pain. They try to sort it out and deal with it and move on. You've literally gone around trying to shut down these kinds of, quote, you call them boarding schools. They're really not. But trying to shut them down. And you've been successful.
We have. We made so much impact in the 2.5 years I've been advocating already changing laws in 8 states and all the way in Ireland as well.
How incredible is that? Do you feel like it's so interesting because I feel like people probably have these hardships in their lives and they look at you and you know, as Hoda said, think you had it perfect and easy, but you've taken the hardest thing in your life and turned it on its head. Like, do you have words of encouragement for anybody that's going through a particularly tricky time?
I've really turned my pain into a purpose, and I feel that I have a mission now, and I think there's so much power in telling the truth and being a voice for the voiceless. It's just been the most empowering time of my life.
And we mentioned this kind of briefly, but you had ADHD, which was really it was kind of the culprit when you were a kid growing up. No one knew what was not right with you, but that really ended up being what it was.
And it was undiagnosed, right?
Yes, for a very long time. But now I consider it a superpower. I feel that's why I've always been thinking outside the box and been a risk taker and been someone who's been innovative and just takes chances.
This also reminds people, like, don't judge anyone. You don't know what they've been through. I feel like sometimes we make assumptions about anybody walking down the street. And now when we read these words, we think, oh my gosh, Paris has been through, like, it's been a real difficult road. And here you sit. Here you sit.
Yes.
Resilient and stronger than ever. And
we got to talk about the best chapter, but that's going to come up after the break. You're married, you have a baby, and we can't wait to talk about that. We'll have that and more coming up after this.
We're back now with Paris Hilton, who's giving us the real story behind her very public life with the release of Paris, the Memoir.
All right, and just 2 months ago, Paris became a new mom when she welcomed her baby Phoenix into... Oh my God, stop it. Okay, so being a mother, on your list of things that you hoped to do in your life, where did that rank?
I always wanted to be a mom. I just I didn't have the right partner to do it with until Carter. I needed to find someone that I could trust and open my heart to. And this little baby is just my everything. My heart just feels so soulful.
So you kept this kind of tight, close to you. You and your husband, Carter, knew it was happening, but you didn't tell even your mom and sister for a little bit. How come?
I just feel that my life has been so public, and I just wanted something for me, and I didn't want the media and people online just speaking about my son even before he was here on this earth.
That's so interesting because we've talked to you about this before, but you've said you kind of have two personas. You have like the Paris that's public, and then you have
this
yourself
Paris from your book.
And do you ever get tired of the public Paris? Are you ever like, okay, maybe it's time to let her go?
It's fun. It's part of the brand, and I think that's my playful side.
Yeah.
And then I have my serious side. So I love it.
Let's talk a little bit more about motherhood, which I'm just so into. When you first held your baby, because that's a moment that happens. There's only one first there. What was that like for you?
It's just the most magical feeling, just looking into his eyes, and my heart just was melting at that point. It's like indescribable.
And talk about, are you wanting to weep?
Yes, I am.
Talk about your partnership.
Yeah.
You're married to a wonderful guy. I know you've said that you didn't know that was always in the cards for you.
Because trusting wasn't easy, trusting a man.
Yeah.
It's been incredibly hard to trust anyone, and I feel that Carter and I were just so meant to be. He has such a big heart. He's so kind. He is just my everything. He's so supportive, my best friend.
I think trust is a tricky thing because if you felt betrayed in that lane, it's hard to let someone in. How long did it take for you to say, okay, Carter, you're the real deal. I get it now.
We've been friends actually for 15 years before we started dating, and we started dating right after my documentary, and I had such huge walls around my heart, and he just tore the walls down, and I just feel so lucky. That's a cute picture.
We know that you're close with your mom. What is she like as a grandma? And what did she do that you hope to emulate with your babe?
She's always just stopping by unannounced. I'll just go to the baby's room, and she'll be in there. She's so obsessed with him, and my mom is she's so kind and so generous and so sweet. She loves the holidays, so I can't wait for Christmas and just all the special moments together.
I can't believe this little family and life you've created for yourself. We just want to give you a little thank you. We have a little tiny gift
something
basket,
from the Today Show.
It's got a little onesie because, of course. Oh,
it's got Hoda's books,
your
which are
I love it. Oh my God, sliving. That's
oh
so
yeah, we made that for
Living.
you.
Yeah, you got to have
We're sure
that.
that's not the first sliving thing that you have.
This is the cutest thing. I love it.
It's that little tiny babe.
Paris, we're so happy for everything in your life,
Yeah,
and we know
thank you
that
for
this
coming.
book will move people and surprise people and help many, many.
Thank you, Paris.
Thank you, Paris. So you can check out Paris, the memoir, at today.com/books.